Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin, here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is connection. And what does it look like to truly connect with another, to open our heart and drop our defenses and truly be present for another. So we get to take a look at that today and the kinds of things that can get in the way. And before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, negativity, stress, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as we exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub those palms together, feel the tickling, the tingling, the pressure, the friction, the temperature, all those sensations, and allow them to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I hope that you had a pleasant and joy-filled holiday, and maybe it was a reflective time, maybe it was a challenging time. And this week of the year for me is always a special time of reflection. The ending of the old year, the harbingers of the new. And I think one of the things that we get to look at is, well, there's so many, right? But one of the things that we get to look at is this idea of connection. And what does it mean? What does it mean to truly connect with another person? I think that so often we have deep defenses that get in the way of our true connection. You know, it's if someone is in a tough space emotionally, it can feel threatening to go there, you know, to open your heart to someone who is in such pain, because it might mean experiencing some of that pain. And so we defend ourselves. If it might mean having some openness, some receptivity to someone else's perspective that might not agree with our own, and that can be challenging. We can get righteous about our beliefs and our perspectives, and that can be an impediment to connection, because we feel that our ideas and beliefs that we identify with, that we associate with our identity, we can feel that those things are threatened. And if I connect to you, what does that mean about me? You know, like if you have all these beliefs that are the antithesis of mine, and I connect with you, what does that mean about me and my beliefs? You know, it's kind of twisty. Things get kind of twisty pretty quickly when we have our ego involved in our willingness to connect with others. It's interesting how we will avert our gaze from pain, um, and close ourselves off to a level of connection with somebody who might be in deep, deep pain, because it's hard for us to bear that pain, right? And the thing is that there are ways to connect with others without having to take on their pain. We can be present, we can be open-hearted with each other and still maintain our wholeness, maintain the integrity of our field. Um, and in fact, that's when we have the capacity to be more fully present with someone else, is when we have a wholeness of our own field, when we have a deeper integration of ourselves, then someone else's pain doesn't become a threat to us. It's when we are when we have our own when our energy is integrated, then then we can we can weather the exposures to other energies without having to necessarily absorb them or fall into them. And so oftentimes people feel that to truly connect is to join in someone else's suffering. And I don't know that that's true. I mean, we can have compassion and we can have empathy for someone, and not fall into their despair. You know, we can be there more as a life raft or a what are they called? I'm thinking lifesaver because you know the shape, but um, like we can help to uplift someone by being present and holding a higher frequency to help to lift them and support them without without falling to the depths of the same despair. And you know, it's interesting too, if we're having challenges in our own lives, sometimes it's hard to connect with somebody whose life is just so rich and joyful in that moment. So Jenny says, I had an emotionally painful anxiety attack last night and cried for 3 hours. Jenny, you know, my awareness of your life is that you have had so many struggles, and that you cried for 3 hours was probably such an important release of some of that energy that you've been holding, you know, to be able to let it out. And I'm hoping that it served as a release for you to be able to move out all this energy that you've been holding that's been so difficult for you. And I hope that you feel better. The thing to be aware of also is that you stopped crying. And I've had those times in my life where I just cried and cried and got cried out, and then experienced a pretty intense emotional hangover from it. Just to be exerting all that energy. And yet there's a cleansing about that. And I'm hoping for you that it served as a release, that it served as something that allowed you to purge some of that energy that has been feeling so oppressive. And yeah, emotions are intense. Emotions are such an incredibly deep experience sometimes when our whole body is engaged in crying or the expression of fear, anxiety, grief, sorrow. Yeah, it's a lot. So Jenny says, my daughter triggered me by refusing to video chat to see the boys meet the new baby and open the Christmas presents. So I want to address something in the languaging of your comment, Jenny. And this is something that so many of us, are prey to, and the phrasing can make a very big difference in the way we experience ourselves and the circumstances in our lives. So what you said is, my daughter triggered me by refusing to video chat. And I'm not saying that that was right or wrong, and I'm sorry for the pain that you're clearly experiencing around it. And when you say my daughter triggered me, that language is representative of giving our power over to others, giving the power of our being, of our choice, of our sovereignty to others, and allowing ourselves to be at the effect of the behavior of others, rather than owning our responsibility for our own state of being. So there's a difference, a very big qualitative difference to the statement, my daughter triggered me, versus I got triggered. Because if I say I got triggered, then I'm acknowledging that the mechanism of that triggering resides in me. So Jenny says, my feelings were hurt. I felt excluded, abandoned, and unloved. And so I understand the pain of those feelings, and I felt those things in my life very deeply as well. And what I can say to that is, as we recognize these feelings, we get to look at what are the dynamics, internal dynamics. This is a place of healing. And I'm not saying that the external circumstances don't exist, painful to be interacting with. And the triggers that we experience are opportunities for us to look at places within ourselves that we can heal. And so, and this may sound Pollyanna, but truly it's not. If we feel excluded, abandoned, and unloved, there are no doubt external circumstances that can justify those feelings. And there's a place where internally we have abandoned ourselves. We are not loving ourselves. We have excluded ourselves. And it may be hard to hear, but that's the place where we get to start healing. Because the fact of the matter is that we can have all these triggers that people can be dancing all over, and we're just a minefield of triggers that get activated, and then we feel deeply wounded. And we get to take the helm over those triggers and to look at what they are and how we can heal them. Now, the thing is that we can't heal them by dictating other people's experience or relying on other people's behavior, because we have no power over that. And we can blame others. And it's not to say that they're not worthy of that accountability. And ultimately, where our empowerment resides is within us. And so if we're feeling abandoned, then we get to heal that abandonment within ourselves. Jenny said, yeah, my daughter said something similar to that. Well, I don't, I'm sure it was painful to hear that from your daughter. And I'm hoping that maybe you can hear it a little differently here, that if we're feeling unloved, truly, truly, it's because we're not deeply loving ourselves. And it's not like it's easy. It's not like it's easy to fill that void. Jenny says, she said she wasn't responsible for my feelings. And the truth is, Jenny, she's not. As much as I hate to say it, she's not. Ultimately, we're responsible for our own feelings. And you would hope that people that are in relationship would have compassion and connection to each other, and would be wanting to consider another person's feelings. However, there's a level of domination and control that happens, and I'm not saying this happens in your situation, Jenny, but where people impose their well-being on someone else and project guilt and it's a way to manipulate, like, you made me feel this way, don't act that way, don't do this. Like growing up, there was a lot of guilt, and my mother placed a lot of responsibility on me for the way that she was feeling. And she didn't take ownership of her own feelings. She didn't take responsibility for her own feelings and put it on me. And it made it very, very difficult. After a point, what happened for me is that I became very calloused to her feelings, because she prioritized her feelings over anything that I might feel regardless. So there was, and I'm not saying this is your situation, but I'm trying to expose a dynamic, is that in my case, it didn't matter if I said I was hurt about something, my mother would say that she was more hurt. And therefore she never saw me, or my experience was that she didn't see me, and that she wasn't able to recognize my feelings at all, because hers were always more important. And so at some point, and this thankfully I've outgrown this, or I've healed beyond the necessity to make myself impervious to her feelings. But in order to take care of myself, I needed to defend myself against her feelings, because she used them as a weapon. At least that was my experience. And I'm wondering if that might be the case to some degree for your daughter. Maybe she feels like she has to protect herself, and therefore she's callous to your feelings. It's such a difficult dynamic all the way around. And what I can say is what as I healed myself, as I came to be more compassionate and loving toward myself, I was able to be more compassionate and loving to my mother and heal that relationship, in that I could allow her to be however she was being without making it about me. And so as you are able, Jenny, to cultivate the deeper experience of love for yourself, and like I said, I know it's not easy, and then there will be greater space for your daughter to be how she is, and she may end up showing up differently. So Jenny says, I just wanted to be included and share the experience. I understand. I totally understand. And I get how important that is to you. Jenny says, I haven't seen them in 2 years. I get it. I get it. And I understand the depth of the wound. The thing is, and we all carry wounds. And ultimately, we can't rely on somebody else to heal those wounds for us. And when we do heal those wounds, sometimes miracles happen. You know, sometimes people's behavior changes radically as we heal those wounds, because we've changed the whole dynamic. We've changed the whole field. And the wanting and the expectation is often the thing that keeps the negative dynamics in place. You know, the neediness, the desire, the yearning is ironically something that pushes away the very thing that we're yearning for. And so it takes, and it may be counterintuitive, it may be profoundly counterintuitive, but it takes coming back to ourselves to heal those wounds from our own lives, to give love and compassion to ourselves, in order to be able to allow people to be where they are, even if we don't like it, even if we want it to be some way different. And believe me, Jenny, I'm not saying any of this stuff lightly. This is through the school of hard knocks. I felt very abandoned, misunderstood, excluded, and unloved through most of my growing up. And it's an inside job ultimately. And then external circumstances change as we are able to heal and shift within ourselves. And so ultimately, my feelings are my responsibility. And I cannot make somebody else accountable for them. I can let people know how I feel. I can let people know how I've responded to a certain action. And the truth is that they're not responsible for my feelings, even though they may have done something that was less than considerate or even outright mean and hurtful. Just because someone might act that way doesn't mean that I have to be hurt. And it may seem like a disconnect, but the truth is it's in connecting with ourselves and healing those wounds that we then give ourselves the capability to be present to what is without destroying ourselves because it isn't something else. So I'm hoping this makes sense. We can allow ourselves to be buffeted about by life. I get it, Jenny says, it does hurt. I get it. I get it. And I think the more empowering thing to say is I feel hurt. And as you notice that you feel hurt, find the compassion within yourself to soothe that hurt, to look at that hurt probably goes way back, and to give love to your inner child who experienced that deep hurt and who began to believe that they weren't worthy and that they would be unloved and abandoned. And to give that child love and to be there for them. I have one client who actually got a promise ring to elevate their relationship with their inner child, to remind them that they have a promise, they've made a promise to always be there for that child who was so deeply wounded. And I encourage that for you, is to create a relationship with your inner child, that child who was so deeply hurt. And that's it for today. I hope that's helpful. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, EWN, One with the Earth, Enlightened World Living. And until next time, thank you for your heartfelt expression, Jenny, and thank you all for being willing to have these difficult conversations and to shine the light on the process that we can go through to heal. It's not easy, but it's so important. And so, with so much love and gratitude, until next